Carson suddenly appeared in front of the two. Is it too late to come as a guest now? Jason, knowing that he cannot see through Carson's cultivation achievement, still forcefully pretends to be cool to seek justice for Omari, acting arrogantly to make Carson kneel down and apologize. This kind of delusional hooligan ended up being knocked down by Carson with one punch. He sprayed blood all over the place. The powerful force smashed him into the floor, almost impossible to pull out. Then he started kneeling on the ground begging for mercy. Carson would not let him off so easily. He pointed towards Omari and indicated that Omari's knee had been shot through. He was in so much pain that he kept howling on the ground. However, Omari remained extremely arrogant, threatening to kill him for sure. Jason also claimed that the Yun family will not let this go easily. Carson watched them retreat in the distance, already deciding to eliminate the Yun family in his heart. At the same time, under Kaison's leadership, the Mo family Chamber of Commerce began to monopolize the business community in Zhonghai. As the foremost secular family in Zhonghai, the Lai family is in imminent danger in the corporate war. On this day, Lai family leader Chandler came to the Yun family, pleading with Yun family leader Nathaniel to help him eliminate the Mo family Chamber of Commerce. Nathaniel agreed. But the condition is for his daughter Aubrey to marry his son Omari. For the benefit of the clan, Chandler agreed without hesitation. A few days later, the wedding of the two families had begun. Chandler is indeed ruthless as a father. He can bear to let his daughter marry a wastrel for the sake of his own interests. In a blink of an eye, it's already time for the solemn vow-taking ceremony. But at this moment, Kaisen suddenly burst in and interrupted their wedding. Nathaniel immediately stood in front. I don't think it's your turn to meddle in the Yun family's wedding. Do you really think that your Mo family Chamber of Commerce is invincible? Chandler is also following behind, echoing in agreement. Kaisen's gaze narrowed. Regardless of what they were saying, he ordered them to stop the wedding immediately. Aubrey was stunned on the spot, not knowing who this person was, and why he came to rescue her. Chandler showed no sign of backing down when he saw Kaisen, and he accused him of being too overbearing. Kaisen chuckled in response. Chandler went as far as selling his daughter for the benefit of the clan. You, as a father, really went too far. Seeing the atmosphere become tense, an elder walked out from backstage. Elder Dragon Cane suddenly struck the ground making a loud noise. What are you all arguing about? This elder is Yun family's old family leader Bellamy. Kaisen's gaze also showed a hint of surprise. He did not expect that the Yun family indeed had a trump card. The old monster in front of him is probably a Divine Perception Realm Grandmaster, so Kaisen acted directly, feeling that the other party was too arrogant. Kaisen didn't say a word and threw a punch. Bellamy looked at Kaisen's punch with some appreciation while holding the dragon cane. When Kaisen's punch came close, Bellamy quickly raised the dragon cane and created a visible shockwave of air, blocking Kaisen's punch with a booming sound of energy explosion. Kaisen was violently pushed back and took 4 or 5 steps back before regaining his balance. Bellamy didn't fare well either, taking a step back before barely regaining his balance. He looked at Kaisen solemnly. You are indeed exceptional. You already possess some understanding of the Divine Perception Realm. Among peers, you can be regarded as invincible. I don't just set my sights on peers, hee. If you want to challenge beyond your level, I will make your wish come true. As soon as the words fell, Bellamy raised the dragon cane and shouted, Dragon Mirage, loudly. Suddenly, everyone noticed that Elder disappeared into thin air. Then, a giant dragon made of clouds soared into the sky, roaring loudly. Bellamy stood in the void and transformed into a dragon, using the move he had comprehended in seclusion for 10 years. Today, he was going to test this move on Kaisen. Kaisen, full of spirits, yelled, Come on! Today I will step on the sky and slay the dragon! As soon as the words fell, the giant dragon roared angrily and lunged towards Kaisen with a fierce bite. Kaisen shouted, Heavenly Mystic 3 Fists, first form, mountain splitting. His fist slammed down beneath the dragon's head, transformed by Bellamy. The giant dragon was hit and flew backwards. But this did not cause much harm to Bellamy. Kaisen's aura suddenly surged, striking Bellamy with the heavenly mystic three fists, second form flowbreaker. This time, the dragon was dispersed. Bellamy's figure appeared, looking solemn. What a powerful bodyguard realm grandmaster you are. You are the first person in these decades to break my dragon mirage. Kaisen forcefully suppresses the agitation of chi in his body. You are also the most powerful martial artist I have encountered. Let's use all our strength in the final move to determine the winner. Dragon-slaying hand, Bellamy said in a low voice. His hands turned into claws, and he leaped fiercely, covering Kaisen's head. Kaisen suddenly raised his head and threw a punch skyward, executing the heavenly mystic three fists. Third form sealing suppression. The two collided again, and a loud explosion of powerful energy heatwave erupted. After the impact, Bellamy took a few steps back to steady himself, while Kaisen was knocked down to the ground. When Kaisen stood up again, Bellamy still gave him very high praise. You have stronger potential. In a few years, I won't be your match anymore. Seeing the situation being controlled, Nathaniel jumped out again to mock Kaisen. Kaisen burst into laughter. Do the Yun family have a trump card while I don't? After speaking, Kaisen bowed towards the direction of the hall entrance, respectfully requesting Master to lend a hand. The mighty immortal sovereign has once again been burgled. This time, Callie and two other women almost fell together. Just now, Carson showed up at the wedding ceremony and said, Let's be real, only I can handle this situation. Kaisen immediately bowed to him as a sign of respect. Disciple has failed. It brings shame to the sect. Please punish me, Master. Carson smiled faintly and did not blame Kaisen, as Kaisen lost in terms of cultivation time. Nathaniel learned that the person in front of him was the one who broke his son's leg. He angrily struck out at Carson with a palm without regard for his own life. Omari was even more convinced that Carson was bound to die. However, Nathaniel was knocked out by Carson with a single punch. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Omari was so scared that his face turned pale, his eyes widened, and his mouth hung open. He couldn't believe that his father, the bodyguard realm grandmaster, couldn't even block Carson's attack with a move. Chandler was deeply regretful at this moment. He actually thought about marrying his daughter to Carson, and tried to curry favor. Bellamy stood up at this moment, already seeing the terrifying strength of Carson. He turned to the people of the Yun family behind him and said, I am old now. The future of the Yun family is in your hands. Obviously, Bellamy knew he didn't have the confidence to defeat Carson. He was prepared to fight to protect the dignity of the Yun family. At the same time, he also hoped that this battle would allow Carson to end his life with a perfect period. Carson nodded, as he wished, only to see Bellamy yell out loudly. His dragon cane in his hand was crushed to pieces by him. Bellamy's originally aged body slowly grew taller, and even younger. A group of puzzled young members of the Yun family cheered on the side, thinking that Bellamy reaching the realm of rejuvenation would definitely defeat Carson. Carson shook his head and sighed. Why bother with this? You are burning your life. After this battle, win or lose, you will undoubtedly die. Yes, so if you trust me, I will do my best, Carson. Give me a nod, rest assured that I can do it. Let me show you my dragon mirage Bellamy in its heyday, with a loud roar as a mist surrounds my whole body. He disappeared from the original spot, and an almost substantial mist dragon appeared in midair. Compared to when dealing with Kaisen earlier, this dragon is more solid. He watched as the huge beast rushed towards him at high speed. Carson suddenly took a step forward and unleashed a mountain-splitting strike. The seemingly all-powerful and dominant dragon. It was unexpectedly sent flying by Carson's punch as if breaking decayed wood and shattering dried bones. In the mist, Bellamy coughed up a mouthful of blood. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth with a loud shout of satisfaction. Come on! The dragon soared high again and descended towards Carson. The sound of the heavenly Xian divine, this second form river splitting Carson rang out again. Each of his punches carried tenfold strength, stemming from his respect for Bellamy. This punch directly broke through the layers of chi barriers surrounding Bellamy. Bellamy was sent flying backward by the impact. He was spewing blood uncontrollably in midair. Ha ha ha. Enjoyable? Bellamy burst into a hearty laugh, leaping up from the ground and standing before Carson once again. Carson couldn't help but admire this elder. If it were anyone else, they would have been beaten to death by him. This elder truly lives up to being the mainstay of the Yun family. Carson is seen joining his palms together. He is gathering his strongest move. Bellamy felt the irresistible terror and pressure, not retreating but advancing with an expression of embracing death as home. If I can die under such earth-shattering martial art, my life would not have been in vain, he said, his hands flashing with lightning at the same time. He unleashed the ultimate move, Dragon-Slaying Hand. Carson's palms probed out, and he utilized all his cultivation achievements to execute this strike, suppressing the universe. As the powerful residual force dissipated, Bellamy had already turned into flying ashes. Carson pointed a finger at Omari again. A blood hole suddenly appeared on Omari's forehead, and he died on the spot. Nathaniel roared and glared at Carson with a fierce expression. The enraged Nathaniel, overwhelmed by anger, rushed towards Aubrey. Watching Aubrey on the verge of being killed, a golden light instantly pierced through his chest, and his outstretched hand also froze in midair. Then he fell to the ground with a thud and couldn't get up. He had just been killed by the heaven-slashing technique summoned by Carson. Carson controlled the heaven-slashing technique and looked at the remaining members of the Yun family with a smile. "Face reality," he said. "I can easily annihilate all of you from the Yun family." As soon as the words fell, everyone kneels down and worships me, willing to submit. Carson suddenly shouted coldly, "Yun family is now under the Mo family chamber of commerce. Those who refuse will die." After the matter was resolved, Carson then said to Aubrey, "Remember, you never need to compromise with anyone." But she did not understand why Carson was being so kind to herself. Carson casually said, "Because I owe you." Aubrey was even more surprised by this. They had only met for the second time, and Carson didn't offer much explanation about their past connection in past life. He couldn't explain clearly either. After all, this woman was his official girlfriend from college in their past life. Later, due to the class difference in their clans, they were forced to separate. He doesn't want Aubrey to become the second Daisy. Carson then instructed Kaisen to hand over the Mo family chamber of commerce to the most trusted person to manage it while he returned to Jianya's city. At the same time, an elder dressed in purple A trigrams attire. He flew to Carson's main camp. He gazed at the villa by Yen Lake shrouded in spiritual energy mist. Ezekiel took a deep breath. This rich spiritual energy is simply amazing. Just then, Serenity flew out of the villa, looking wary as she asked Ezekiel, "Who are you?" Ezekiel glanced at Serenity, slightly surprised, and said, "You're quite young to have reached the inner realm pinnacle. It seems Carson indeed has some skills." "Carson killed 2 of my disciples, so I'll kill one of his first." As soon as he finished speaking, Ezekiel threw a punch towards Serenity. Serenity hadn't reacted yet, and was sent flying by the punch. She fell heavily to the ground, seeing that Serenity still had a breath left. When Ezekiel was preparing to strike again, Callie had already blocked his path. Ezekiel was surprised to see another female Grandmaster appear. Immediately, he revealed a sinister smirk. "Are you also Carson's disciple? It seems that Carson enjoys being served by women." "Shameless!" the damn Callie shrieked. The Phoenix Song sword flashed with a cold light, aiming straight at Ezekiel's head. She was effortlessly caught the sword by Ezekiel, who let out a disdainful smile and said, "This sword is good, but you are still not enough." Callie's figure suddenly retreated, sensing the formidable strength of the despicable elder in front of her. She directly activated Phoenix swords through the 9 heavens. Callie transformed into a fire phoenix descending straight from the sky. Ezekiel struck with a Vajra fist, shattering the fire phoenix phantom. Callie was knocked into the air and fell to the ground. Then Ezekiel took out Callie's phone and recorded the scene, sending it to Carson as a challenge. 3 days later, they will battle here. This time, the face of the dignified immortal sovereign was slapped loudly. Who would have thought that the humble matriarch serpent's soul has grown into a red dragon today? Carson really hit the jackpot with this one. And just now, Carson's house was robbed again. Almost all the martial artists have gathered at his old home. On the 3rd day, Carson finally showed up. Callie and the other 2 girls saw Carson as if they had seen the savior coming. After checking the 2 girls, Carson found that they were basically unharmed. He turned his head and glanced at Ezekiel. Without saying a word, he threw a punch towards Ezekiel. Ezekiel met it with his own punch. He didn't expect the little guy in front of him to actually stand his ground against him. They were seen exchanging blows, with tens of thousands of punches making it hard to tell who had the upper hand. Suddenly, Ezekiel shouted loudly, "We've been testing each other for long enough. I'm about to unleash my ultimate move." Behind Ezekiel, the 8-armed Vajra phantom suddenly condensed. Carson felt the power of Ezekiel's move, but for him, it was not enough. Ezekiel unleashed Vajra phantom to execute the Vajra demon suppression fist. Carson still delivered a mountain-splitting strike with a bang, sending Ezekiel flying directly. He fell into Yen Lake. An elder dressed in a Taoist robe whispered to the Scar Man next to him, "This kid definitely has secrets on him. If we can obtain them, it's possible to break through to the divine realm." The Scar Man nodded but indicated that they would need to find someone to help. The Taoist robe elder smirked. "Don't worry, with the huge temptation of the divine realm, helpers are easy to find." On the other side, Ezekiel rose from Yen Lake. Carson looked at him and sneered. "Is the water comfortable to soak in?" Ezekiel angrily said, "If I had met you 30 years ago, I would probably have no choice but a dead end. But after 30 years of precipitation, you can only be my defeated subordinate." After speaking, Ezekiel suddenly raised both hands high and shouted, "Vajra descends!" His aura soared instantly, emitting a dazzling blue light all over his body, his voice accompanying it. "This martial art move has taken me 12 years of effort. You are the first fortunate one to witness it." Carson sneered, "I am also the last one, because this is your final opportunity to demonstrate it." As soon as the words fell, Ezekiel's body had already disappeared from the spot. Carson shook his head, somewhat disappointed. "It's just a minor skill of increasing speed, nothing special." He casually threw a punch behind him. Ezekiel was so scared that his face was full of shock, almost getting hit by Carson. But he thought it was a coincidence, and his figure disappeared again. And Carson quickly kicked him this time. Ezekiel, who was kicked down and flew out a few steps, did not expect this kid could actually find his location. As he steadied himself, he clapped his hands. He struck out again, with the Vajra demon suppression fist toward Carson. Carson directly unleashed the 3rd punch, suppressing the universe, with a loud bang. Ezekiel was knocked back again. Carson sneered, "The legendary powerful Vajra is just this. No way." At this point, Ezekiel was panicking inside. The punch just now was already his strongest trump card. Now he can only offer a truce to Carson and stop here. These words almost made Carson laugh. "My house has been stolen by you. Are you not awake yet?" Ezekiel, with a false sense of luck, believes that Carson won't be able to catch him as long as he wants to escape. Carson smiled and summoned Heaven Slashing to give Ezekiel a chance to escape. Just as Ezekiel was flying out, Carson threw a sword without sportsmanship. Ezekiel was covered in blood on the spot. This scene impressed the 2 hooligans who were planning to plot against Carson again. It seems they need to find more helpers. After the battle, Carson was meditating to restore his chi. The Taoist from Mount Johua Flying Dragon Immortal bowed to Carson and expressed the wish to discuss some matters with him. Carson saw through his tricks long ago and snorted coldly. Discuss? Avoiding discussion? Come out. Flying Dragon Immortal stopped pretending. With a wave of his hand, 11 old men appeared behind him. Carson laughed. 12 Divine Perception Realm Grandmasters gathered together. Are they planning to turn my home into a party venue? Flying Dragon Immortal sneered coldly. Hand over the technique on you, and we will leave immediately. Do you think that having more people can force me to compromise? We have already seen your strength clearly last night. With so many of us, we will definitely beat you. If it were somewhere else, it might take some effort to kill 12 Divine Perception Realm Grandmasters at once. But you forgot that this is my territory. After he finished speaking, he released a layer of spiritual energy to activate the 5 elements formation instantly. A giant formation enveloped everyone within it. Flying Dragon Immortal was greatly alarmed. He did not expect Carson to have this trick up his sleeve. Seeing the others in panic, Flying Dragon Immortal shouted, What are you afraid of? With the combined power of our 12 people, what formation in this world can stop us? Although the morale of the army has been stabilized, what is embarrassing is being slapped in the face. No matter how they unleash their ultimate moves together, they simply cannot break through this formation. Carson coldly pointed out and sneered. A bunch of fools, the waves in the vast 3,000 waters are vast and boundless. A vast sea appeared at their feet immediately. Stepping on it felt like being crushed by a 1,000-pound boulder. The next second, the ground beneath their feet cracked, and the true fire of Samadhi formation was activated. Everywhere was filled with endless raging fires roasting their bodies. At this moment, Flying Dragon Immortal shouted, Everyone stay calm. This formation is so powerful that it must consume a lot of spirit power. He won't be able to hold on for long. Let's keep him busy. Just as he finished speaking, Carson removed the formation. How do you all feel about the extreme polar experience? Flying Dragon Immortal disdainfully laughed. Your formation's spirit power has been depleted. Carson coldly sneered and pointed up. Who said letting you out was because the formation's spirit power was depleted? A little guy was too hungry to wait any longer. They looked up in confusion, as if something was about to come out. Suddenly, a dragon's head appeared. Carson saw a fire-red dragon swimming towards him. Carson touched the dragon's head and said, Good child. The dragon unexpectedly transformed into a small dragon and coiled around his arm, looking pleased. Carson smiled at it and said, Go ahead, eating them will compensate for a year of your hard practice. Flying Dragon Immortal looked serious. So this is the real reason he let us out. As soon as the words fell, everyone started fleeing in all directions. And the giant dragon has already entered like a wolf among sheep. All 12 Divine Perception Realm Grandmasters have all become food for the red dragon. After eating this red dragon, they felt satisfied and burnt. Judging from the situation, this Jiao dragon will definitely be able to ascend to a true dragon in the future. But for now, it can only serve as Carson's mountain spirit demon. With this battle, the entire martial arts world's power structure will be reshuffled. Carson is playing the role of a pig to eat a tiger again. Just now, Carson was strolling and chatting with his ex-girlfriend Aubrey from his past life. The soldier from the Divine Eagle Special Forces came over. It turns out that there was a problem with the Divine Eagle Special Forces. I hope he can go back and check it out right away. Carson just returned to base. Just then, Vice Captain Tristan rushed over to Captain in a great hurry. You're finally back. What on earth happened? There was a problem with the player's cultivation, so we had to temporarily stop the training. Carson frowned. There is no way there could be a problem with the technique that he personally adapted. According to Tristan's description, since all the team members' abilities have entered the inner realm, the team has become very aggressive, often engaging in physical fights over trivial matters, even risking their lives. Carson sensed that these people's cultivation achievements have all met his expectations, indicating that they have not been slacking off. However, due to their innate dark chi, and the fact that their cultivation achievements broke through too quickly, their spiritual constitutions are weak. Therefore, they are unable to control their power, and have become irritable and prone to aggression. Identify the root cause. Carson instructed Tristan not to let the team members cultivate during this time. He needs to find a solution. And the solution is to break through their spiritual constitution, which means building the foundation for all team members. This requires a vast amount of foundation-building pills. So Carson arrived at Herbal King Valley, which is the territory of the refining pill noble family Mu family. And the Jake he had previously defeated is actually the nephew of the current Mu family leader, Wilder. Now he comes to Herbal King Valley seeking medicine, which may not be too easy. At this moment, a young man is kneeling in front of the stone tablet at the gate of Herbal King Valley, constantly murmuring for help. Carson discovered that this young man had been kneeling here for a long time, and his physical strength was nearing its limit. If not rescued immediately, he might not survive. He waved his hand towards the young man and used water element to relieve the burden on his body. The young man felt shocked by the changes in his body and looked up at Carson, asking, "Brother, is this a spell? Please save my father." Carson said he is here to ask for medicine too, and then asked the young man why he was kneeling here. The young man looked disappointed with a touch of despair on his face. The young man, named Cannon, spent all his savings and borrowed from relatives to treat his father's illness. After being directed by someone, he came to Herbal King Valley to give it a try. Herbal King Valley refused to let him in due to lack of money, so he knelt outside, hoping to impress them with his sincerity. After listening to Cannon's plight, Carson couldn't bear it. The foolish child, Herbal King Valley, is no stranger to deaths at its doors, and has never shown mercy. Let me help you. Aren't you here to seek medicine as well? You can help me, and we really have no money. Rest assured. I will do as I say. Let's first take care of your father, and come back later. Later, Carson took them to a hotel. The security guard at the entrance, seeing the shabby appearance of the father and son, scolded and drove them away. Carson looked at the security guard expressionlessly. "I said we're going to stay here. Do you dare say more?" The security guard was so frightened by Carson's imposing manner that he trembled, realizing immediately that Carson was no ordinary person. He quickly put on a smile and welcomed the three of them into the hotel. During this process, Carson found that Cannon was unmoved by external things, showing indifference to both honor and disgrace, which indicated that he was a good candidate for cultivation. After settling everything, Carson, who was slightly disguised, brought Cannon back to Herbal King Valley once again. They were stopped by two hooligans guarding the gate again. "Herbal King Valley is not a place you can enter as you please," they said. Cannon immediately whispered to Carson to give a little bribe, which means giving money. Carson suddenly realized that it was not that he didn't understand. It's just that the benefits in his eyes are no longer related to money. He directly took out a thick stack of bills and handed it over arrogantly. The hooligan's smug expression almost froze. After the two went in, Cannon said that he was stopped at the door because he didn't have money for bribes. Moreover, this behavior is tacitly approved by Herbal King Valley. After all, this not only screens out most poor people, but also earns a good amount of money. When the two arrived at the main gate of Herbal King Valley on the mountaintop, they saw many people causing a commotion outside the gate. These people paid bribes, but they were still not allowed to enter. Two disciples from Herbal King Valley explained that they are experiencing a shortage of medicinal herbs recently, and are only accepting exchanges, not selling pills to outsiders. The bribes they received cannot be refunded. So they have been at a standstill. Carson smiled and extended his hand towards the disciple, revealing a pill in the palm of his hand. The two disciples' eyes lit up instantly, obviously recognizing the extraordinary nature of this pill. One of them took the pill to report it, asking Carson to wait for a moment. The two disciples from Herbal King Valley greeted Carson with flattering looks and ushered him in. Carson had just entered the Medicine King Hall. He saw Mu family leader Wilder staring at him. Was that pill just now refined by your master? I refined that myself. Several members of the Hall of Herbal King Valley upper echelon were secretly surprised. Wilder immediately bowed to Carson as a sign of respect and asked, "May I ask for your honorable surname and given name? What brings you to our Herbal King Valley this time?" "My name is Sunkar. I came to Herbal King Valley to look for some medicinal herbs. Can you take me to the warehouse?" Just as the words fell, he was opposed by Elder Kingsley of the Mu family. How can this be allowed? The warehouse of Herbal King Valley is not to be viewed by outsiders just because they wish to. Carson took out a paper with an elixir formula and smiled. "If the Mu family has what I need, I can exchange the elixir formula of that pill for it." Wilder and the two of them immediately had a drastic change in facial expression and were greatly delighted. Cannon looked at Carson with a hint of shock and gratitude in his eyes, never expecting that this big brother would go to such lengths for him. Wilder accepts the deal but requires the elixir formula to inspect the goods first and guarantees never to copy the elixir formula. This condition could be considered quite shameless. Even Kingsley on the side felt ashamed in secret. After all, people like them remember things at a glance. The members of the Mu family were staring intently at Carson, their eyes full of anticipation, hoping that Carson would agree. Carson's eyes flashed with a hint of disdain as he casually tossed the elixir formula over. Wilder quickly held the paper in his hands and carefully looked at it, his face filled with a look of shock as if he had found a treasure. After finishing reading, Wilder had a smile on his face. This elixir formula is indeed amazing. We still need to verify its authenticity. Please wait a moment. Carson waved his hand indifferently. Let them take their time. The upper echelon of the Mu family are all gathered in the Mu family refining pill room. Wilder sighed as he looked at the pill refining furnace in front of him. If I'm not mistaken, this should be an ancient elixir formula. I'm afraid that the ingredients he needs are not available in our Mu family. An elder beside him flashed a hint of greed in his eyes, reminding him that no matter what, this elixir formula must be kept. Wilder had this idea a long time ago. The greed in his eyes prompted them to quickly transcribe a copy of the elixir formula. And his ambition is even greater. Analyzing Carson, there's something better, even the divine elixir formula. So he decided not to exhaust Carson and never let him leave Herbal King Valley. Suddenly, the pill furnace exploded with a bang. Kingsley excitedly laughed and said while holding the pill, "It's done! It's done! First-class spirit herb." Wilder carefully examined several sparkling and translucent pills, convinced in his heart that this was definitely an ancient elixir formula. From the leisurely tea-drinking hall, Carson knew from the sound just now that they had successfully refined it. Wilder, on the other hand, plans to have others cooperate with him to slaughter Carson, this fat sheep. Seeing them walking out, Carson smiled faintly and said, "What's the result?" Wilder coughed softly, and his face darkened. "Failed. Your elixir formula couldn't even form a pill. It's clearly fake." Kingsley behind him looked shocked. Although he also wanted to stay, Carson had never thought of deceiving Carson like this. A cold light flashed in his eyes. "Since you couldn't make the pill, just return the elixir formula to me." Wilder also readily returned it to Carson. Carson suddenly looked at Wilder and gave a strange smile. "I have added some small techniques to this elixir formula. Before long, your memories of this elixir formula will disappear, including those transcribed texts will also disappear." As soon as the words fell, those who had just read the elixir formula had already begun to forget. Wilder looked stunned. He turned to look at Kingsley, who had personally refined the pill, but Kingsley had also completely forgotten at this moment. Carson sneered inwardly and waved at them. "Wait." Wilder quickly stopped Carson. "Do you have any other matters? Perhaps we made a mistake during the refining process just now, so we couldn't produce the pill. It's not an issue with your elixir formula, but its value is limited. If you want to exchange for the medicinal herbs from us, you may need to add something more." Carson has never seen such shameless person before, which made him laugh directly. Family leader, you are really shameless. Aren't you afraid of being overfilled by your greed? Being embarrassed in public, Wilder started to threaten Carson boldly. How dare you insult me, Herbal King Valley? If you don't give me an explanation today, you won't be able to leave. The rest of the Move family members immediately understood Wilder's intentions. They immediately surrounded Carson and Cannon. Kingsley quickly stepped in to advise Wilder not to ruin the reputation of Herbal King Valley over this trivial matter. Wilder has long been clouded by greed and is not listening at all. He used his identity as the family leader to pressure him into not meddling in other matters. Kingsley sighed and said, "My Move family is going to be destroyed by you." Wilder ignored him and turned to Carson. "Are you going to surrender on your own, or shall we take action?" "I haven't put any skill points into surrendering," Carson said casually. He removed the spirit power from his face, immediately restoring his original appearance. Carson was about to start his performance again.